episode 2 for today, Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. I am Tulio Sergusa, broadcasting from Southern California, and I'm joined by my co hosts, Carlos Ponce from Cuernavaca, Mexico, and of course, Kim
Yeah.
Lantis from Hermosillo. Hi, Kim. Hi, Carlos. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And of course, let's not forget why we do this. It's all about our guest. And joining us today is Greg Dickinson, who's the founder and CEO of Omedym. Greg, welcome. You broadcasting from North Carolina, I think?
South Carolina.
South
Thank
Carolina.
you.
All right.
Here.
I got Carolina right, didn't get the
That's
South
it.
North right. And Doug, you're Doug Udoff, who's the Chief Customer Officer of Omedym. He's broadcasting from New Jersey. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we dive into our topic today and learn about your company, we'd love to learn about you individually. Can you give us a little bit about, let's start with Greg. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll move on to Doug.
Well, first, thanks for the opportunity to meet you all and talk today. You guys have a really great live program here. Greg Dickinson. Basically, I'm a software person. I've been involved in software since 1997 when I joined Ariba. It's my first experience in enterprise software as a pre-sales engineer. And from that time forward, I've just done software companies of different sizes. Ariba did a couple other startups. Had the fortune of starting another company in 2007 called Hyperos, and had a good exit out of that. And then we started Amadem about 2 years ago, kind of focused on buyer enablement, automating the demo and helping your buyer buy. And, that's really what I do during the day. Is I really, really love software, collaboration, working with people and talking to customers. And then when I'm outside of work, I live on a farm and take care of the farm and do a lot of woodworking. So when time permits, I get to my hobbies. And I'm very, very appreciative of being here today.
Excellent. We think we have a whole conversation about living on a farm. I'd love to hear more about that, especially with all the lockdown. That's where you want to be. Okay, Doug, tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Doug Udoff, and I started my career at Oracle. I'm a lifetime post-sales guy in enterprise software. So I started with Oracle Consulting right out of college, and I had a great run at Oracle. Joined a company where I had the opportunity to meet Greg at Ariba. And we spent a bunch of time at Ariba, and then this is the third company Greg and I have worked together, Ariba, Hyperos, and we saw that progress and eventually leading to it being acquired by Coupa, and now here at Omedym. And my entire career is post-sales enterprise software. So I live for helping customers be successful with our solutions. That's what I like to do.
Excellent. I have a lot of experience with Ariba back in the day. So pre-sales and post-sale coming together, creating a company. I love it. Tell us about Omedym. And you've got to tell us about the name too, because I thought it's really cool how you came up with the name. But please tell us a little bit about Omedym.
Yeah, so I'll take a stab at that. So when we left Hyperos, right, we started to kind of had the sense that things were starting to change in the world of the buyer, right? The buyer was getting more control. They wanted to do more of the kind of the investigation, the discovery on their own, and that was 2016, and so continue to look at that process from my exit of Hyperos into the starting of Amadem. This fundamental shift that was taking place where your buyer wanted to do a lot more work on their own. They wanted it to be in a self-service mode. They really were leaning heavily on digital, and they wanted things on demand. Not a lot of opt-in. And you take the second conversion that we looked at was kind of this idea of video, and people were relying more and more and more on video when they wanted to see how something works, or they wanted to learn something. And the last kind of convergence, and we actually, I wrote a book on this called The Convenience Economy, in that people want, and they put the idea of convenience above price. I mean, if you look at, home groceries, and you look at, being able to the Amazon effect, people really drive into the fact that they want things more convenient. They want things to happen faster, and they want to be smoother. So we took all of those in together and formed Amadem. And our first stake was, hey, the product is very important to people. This experiential notion of people wanting to see the product, test the product, and this idea of product-led growth, and all this came together. And we said, hey, the demo is a place to start. Let's automate the demo using video, making it convenient and on demand. And that was the name of the company, my demo backwards, Amadem, because the demo is something that's very important to the buyer. And since that time, we've evolved the product to be beyond the demo. And now our customers look at this as buyer enablement, helping your buyer buy, providing a portal, if you will, a way for your buyers that have questions about your company, about your product. They want to see it. They ask a question. Our software will find the exact moment inside the video where that answer is being displayed, and they can watch that. So it takes away this, you think of a great analogy. Someone has a webinar, and the information they want to watch is at the 31-minute mark. Well, people don't watch 31 minutes of anything, but with our software, they could ask a question and it would find the exact moment where, Carlos is talking about a specific topic. So that's what we call buyer enablement, using technology to help your buyer buy.
Well, it sounds like a great topic to go right into. So let's go right into it. Kim, please introduce the show. Let's kick it off. Want to learn more?
Certainly. Thank you to you. And thank you for being here, Greg and Doug. So as Greg already laid out for us very clearly, today's topic is the importance of buyer enablement, the importance of to build trust digitally throughout the customer journey. And so, Greg, you mentioned that one of the first stops in the customer journey is the demo, the video. Now, I can relate to this, not necessarily because I'm trying to buy software, but I do try to look and see if there's software development companies who would be a good fit for us here at Encora. And one of those first stops for me in my role as sales development is this a client for me? Is this an ideal client profile? Do they develop their software? And I've noticed that sometimes in the software universe, things can, websites really aren't that great. There's this confusion of like, what's their product? What do they do exactly? Is this going to be useful for me? And I rely on the videos. And I really like this idea of incorporating a question that I might have directly into the video. So what is that process? And going back to the human side of it, what are the questions that you anticipate? Like, how do you even get to that point of the human nature and discover what are the questions people are going to be asking?
Kim, great question. So first, let's think about the top of the funnel, right? To your exact example, someone comes to a website and they have questions, right? They want to know about your software. Maybe they want to know how your security works. Maybe they want to know, where it's hosted. Do you do workflow? Do you have analytics? All these questions that the business buyer has. And it's a well-known fact that you click on the request a demo button to see, quote unquote, a demo of the product. Listen, we all know exactly what's going to happen when we click on that button. A form's going to come up and they're going to want everything to know about you, right? Because they're trying to drive this opt-in. 85 to 90% of the time, people will abandon that form. They will not, at that part of the customer buyer journey, they're not going to opt in and fill out that form. They're just not going to do it. It's reminiscent of you and I going to a store, looking at TVs, and the salesperson asks us, can they help us? And we all say, not right now, I'm just looking, right? We don't want to be bothered when we're on our buying journey. So on the website, we think this idea of digital trust is if a person has a question, give them the answer. Allow them to ask a question. And that's what our technology does. It allows them to look at a topic that's automatically generated. You can seed, right, the portal with questions that prospects have asked in the past, and then you can allow a free form, just like a Google search, and have them type in a question, and it brings them to the answer. The answer could be a PDF, it could be a PowerPoint presentation that Carlos did that he recorded, it could be a video representation of the product, the demo that was done, could be a webinar, right? All this oodles and oodles of content that companies have, we call it everyday content, that's available, but instead, they tend to keep it behind this lock and key of, I got to give you my first name, last name, email address, my title. When am I buying? 3, 6, 9 months. Heck, I don't even know if I'm buying yet. And yet that's the process, right? And so that's why we came up with buyer enablement to say, companies, stop for a second and think about the fact that when you as a person buy, when you buy, you will not put up with any friction. If it's hard, you'll swipe left and go someplace else. But yet when you go to work, you put this process in place that makes it very difficult for your buyer to even learn. Kim, to your point, I just want to learn if this company is right for me, and they put up all these walls and barriers, right? And that's that's top of the funnel from the marketing side of things.
And if I could just jump in too, Kim, the other thing that's really interesting is, especially if you think about researching companies, right? Whether you're looking to buy the product or in your use case, when do you have time to do that? And we see our customers have almost 50% of people visit these portals nights and weekends. So if you think about you're a traditional software company, right, and you've got people available to do demos 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, someone visits on a Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They want to learn more about your products and services. If they can't get the answers to their questions on your website, they're going to the next website and the next website until they get the answers. When they finally get the answers, by the way, that's when the music stops, right? That's when they're going to stick. And so enabling people in this convenience world, right, to allow people to do it when they have time, and then of course this thing happened this year with COVID, right? No, salespeople can't visit somebody in an office, right? You can't call somebody on the phone. No one's at their desk. So creating these frictional barriers there that make it hard for people to get answers to their questions, they're just not going to do it. So you need to enable someone to get answers when they want, how they want, without that friction. And that's what we're really trying to do, is take that friction away.
That's really beautiful. I'm hearing like this paradox of you actually have more control by giving away control.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting dilemma, right? Because if you go back in time, before we had instant technology, instant access to people, right? You called someone took a note, and they then created a follow-up. So you needed to have this information collected in order to get a return call or a return email, etc., or a return snail mail in some cases. So those models that, I don't know, probably 50 plus years old, are still in play with some of these decisions that are being made. But they don't work because we're not, to your point, if I want to look at something on Sunday, let me have access to it because that's when I have time. So how are you helping organizations get over that hurdle, change their mindset about how to create that customer journey in such a way that fits the modern era? What are some of the challenges you're seeing?
Dojo, you hit the nail on the head, right? You've only noticed for six minutes, and you've already, kind of drilled in on that fact that we hear it all the time. People will say the sales process was developed 20 years ago, right? And back then, you're right. You don't have to go back 50 years. You can go back 20 years. If I wanted information on a company, I had to go to the salesperson. They had all the information. They doled it out, but I could not. Today, we all have about 11 sources for information. You want to know how to do a podcast? There's 11 places you can learn about podcasting or, e-procurement or any topic you want. And so companies they still are holding on to these old kind of tendencies to say, well, I want to control the information, and they don't realize they no longer have any control. Kim, to your point, we say give convenience, gain control, right? Think of that digital trust. If you as a person, when you're going and trying to find information on something for yourself at home, and that place you're going gives you recommendations, it gives you answers. You can go and find videos that company has produced. When it comes time for you to buy, you trust them. You've established digital trust. It's the same as 20 years ago when you would go to dinner or go to lunch or have a visit, and you'd begin to establish, that trust. So we, talk to companies all the time to say, think about, if you really stop for a second, measure your metrics. And when we get someone to sit down and say, how's your dwell time on your website? Are your opt-in rates? What about your customer acquisition costs? Research shows it's up 70% in the last 5 years, while willingness to pay is down. Is that what you're seeing at your company? And when they stop, they'll admit, yes, those problems are happening. And then they begin to peel back the onion and realize that all we're recommending is an augmentation to the salesperson or the pre-sales person, the marketing person. Give them a digital channel. As Gartner says, the salesperson is no longer the channel, they're a channel. And so what Amadem is offering is a way for you to help your salesperson help the buyer buy and begin to overcome some of those preconceived notions of, wow, I need to control this, or I have to build a relationship. The digital world exists. Use that to your advantage. And you slowly but surely, companies are starting to realize that there is a different way and a different process they can follow. So you hit the nail on the head. It's all about change management and giving up some of those, compensation metrics, right, that are driven, that need to go away, like MQLs. If you're driven by MQLs, you're going to say, hey, I need opt-ins. That's how I get paid. And opt-ins are actually your enemy right now. So go from that perspective.
I got a question. I'm from what I'm looking on your website, and my question is more from the average run-of-the-mill layman. So what I'm looking at how it works, and it's a fairly straightforward. It's very clear, but my understanding is that this is mostly for a B2B type of scenario. So if we were to ponder the possibilities for a B2C type of scenario, what would you say? Do you envision this possibility, or what might be the challenges that may lay ahead?
Well, as Doug said, we've done this together now, going on the third time, right? And how you're successful is focus. And so, Carlos, we get calls every day. As a matter of fact, we don't advertise, but we have a real estate customer, right? A B2C, C2C customer that is selling real estate because people want to find the video of the master bedroom or the back porch, or does it have a basement, and they want to find it very quickly. So we had a call just last week from someone saying, man, when we sell medical devices, we have to actually show step by step how that's done. We have thousands upon thousands of those. If the doctor wants to go back and get a refresher on does it do this or how does it do this, your technology would be great. But if we went everywhere we possibly could, right? B2C, medical devices, real estate, and then also, kind of SaaS companies, we would be spreading ourselves so thin. So we started with what we know, right? Just in true transparency, Doug and I, come from the SaaS world. We've been in the SaaS world now for an awful long time. We know it pretty well. We able to have the conversations we need to grow. So we'll go there. But what we'll do after we have the success and momentum here is we'll begin to look at channel opportunities utilizing our robust platform. Another, kind of vertical that came at us about 6 months ago, right at the time COVID started, was higher education, right? And being able to record those classroom sessions and allowing a student to go back and search and find the answers to that question when they're studying for the final exam. So plenty of uses, but we're focused on SaaS right this second. Doug, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I think the thing is we are focused on the B2B space, but what we've seen, and we have successes there, is we started really, I'll say, top of the funnel, right? Supporting marketing and on the website. And we have customers now using us top of the funnel. Salespeople are using our solution to invite a prospect to a private portal, and all the way through a customer success and support use case. So we've decided to stay within this world, but literally we have customers covering the entire spectrum of it. So from marketing, pre-sales, sales, and post-sales, and supporting their class of users and clients, because the challenge exists, whether it's a support question. If you have a question on how to do something, is no different than a pre-sales question. You have a very short attention span. You want to watch the answer. You don't want to read the answer, and you want to get in and get out. And our really unique capability to allow people to search inside and across a library of videos allows someone to immediately get to the answers to their questions.
Yeah. And Carlos, one other kind of little tidbit on that is that the other thing is that session that your prospect or your customer is engaged in, right? What questions they ask, what topics they click on, what videos they watch, how long do they watch? Do they invite a peer? We maintain all that data so that your salespeople now have buyer intent. They have buyer signals of knowing, hey, Carlos came in and he was very interested in, agile programming, versus Doug came in and Doug wanted to know more about QA services. Now, when you talk to them, you know what to talk about, because Carlos raised his hand and said, my point of interest in your company is this, and Doug did it differently. So that a lot of salespeople complain about the fact, or inside sales, I don't know which ones to go focus on. Marketing gave me 100 leads. Where do I go? Now we prioritize that by a score, saying we know exactly how Carlos spent an hour, asked 40 questions. Doug came in and spent 2 minutes, and Kim came in, watched 2 things and left. Well, guess what? I'm going to go focus on Carlos, then Doug, then Kim. So now I give my salespeople intelligence as to what they should be doing and who they can go serve. Same thing to Doug's point of post-service, right? Customer success. Doug uses this in our world to be able to know what content we need to produce based on what questions people ask that we don't have, answers for right now. So it fits all those criteria. Great question.
So you mentioned, sorry, Carlos, I think there's a delay. I don't mean to talk.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Doug, you mentioned, and we're talking a lot about video here, people wanting to watch or listen to their answers rather than read them. But it's my understanding still that search engine optimization, there has to be some elements of text to even get people to that video. So how are you able to make all this excellent video content even searchable to get people to watch it in the first place?
Yeah, great question. So, and SEO is obviously important when you're trying to drive people to the website. So we have different techniques that we use, but we effectively, when we take a digital asset, a video, we do automatically, completely automatically transcribe that to understand what's spoken when. That's what fuels the search engine. And we're starting to see how we can use elements of what's actually spoken in that video to help feed into a model to make that more visible on the website. Because at the end of the day, SEO, Google is looking at words that are on your website and based upon how that information is tagged. So effectively taking information that we know that's captured through when we process those videos and making that visible so that way it starts to be able to feed into the ability to help drive search, right? And we see over and over again, by the way, that our customers especially, they don't have a problem getting people to the website. The problem is when they get there, do they have a good reason to stay? And when we're seeing people that are accessing the Amadem environment and it's having a 5-6 minute dwell time when they're used to getting a 20 or 30 second dwell time, right? It's enabling this process and really extending their visit timeline. And that's where it starts to get interesting. So, their website already has the ability to hook them. The problem is you get them there and they don't know what to do, right? You start at Google, you're looking for a solution that does X. You go to the site, are you able to get the answers to those questions? And people engage very, very easily with video.
Yeah.
What about the engagement? What do you do on your side with Omedym to make it user-friendly? So you're very customer, user-focused. So it's not just about how useful this product is for the businesses that you're working with, but I'm imagining that an offshoot of that is just the UX UI element. How user-friendly is it?
Yeah, I mean, the great news is it's right available on our website, so you can try it out or look at some of our customers' environments. But we really try to think about that user experience. And the truth is different people interact with websites in different ways. Some people are searchers and some people are clickers. And so we actually designed the application to support both of those models. When you go into the application, you'll see that there's the top questions that are there available, but you can type anything you want in search or you can choose topics as well. So we try to think about and support the fact that not everybody engages in the same way. And we provided a whole bunch of different ways for people that choose to interact in different mechanisms. And it gets a great response. And we do see interesting trends, right? You'll see clickers and you'll see searchers and some people cross over, but we all learn in different ways with different learning styles. We try to think about that in the design of the application.
All right, personal question. Greg, are you a clicker or are you a searcher?
I'm a clicker.
And you, Doug?
I do a lot of clicking as well.
I think what we find is that, when you use your example, Kim, if I am going to try to learn, right, about a company that does, application development, and in the very beginning of being introduced to your company, I have can questions. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? So those are great topics because you see, Agile, you see JavaScript, you see, kind of QA, and I can look at those topics and say, oh, yeah, that's good. As I learn more about you, I move from can to how. How do you do Agile? How do you do QA? And so now I'm going to start typing in questions and looking at the recommendations you gave me. So Doug's 100% correct. And Doug's being a little modest here. Doug pours through. He eats data for breakfast. And he pours through all of this data from thousands upon thousands of prospects that are coming in. We know what, where they are in the funnel, whether they're prospects, suspects, or, kind of opportunities. And we can see that behavior and what they're doing. Doug's got to the point where based on certain behaviors, these clickers and searchers, and do they invite somebody, he can begin to get a notion, is that customer going to buy? So this predictive pattern behavior of looking at someone followed a pattern, they looked at it Saturday morning, they invited their boss on Sunday, the boss came in Sunday night, and then Monday, they called for a proposal, right? We can start to see that through this user-friendly data that people are exposed to. But Kim, you hit on something that's really cool, is that we kind of serve two masters, right? We have to make it easy for that prospect to consume and get answers to questions, and has to be easy for marketing, customer success, salespeople to be able to, engage with that, because really we're helping the buyer buy, but at the end of the day, right, we're helping the seller sell.
So it's been probably, I don't know, maybe 25 years since Peppers and Rogers was taunting this idea of personalization, one-to-one marketing, which has heavily been adopted in the B2C space, but for the most part, from a B2B perspective, it's been a fail. It sounds to me your technology enables that personalization. My question is, do you think that it's more appropriate generationally now because buyers now are the people that are more open to not having to interact with a human being to start the sales process? Is that what's causing these proliferation of more personalized approaches to the customer journey?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Doug jump in here because he sees the data a lot more than I do. But I think what you're talking about is the fact that people, right, have become more likely to want to do work on their own, right? This research, when you go buy a car, right, you don't go to the car lot and walk in and ask questions. You do all your homework, and then, right, you go to the car lot when you're ready to see the product, the car, and then you have a few specific questions that you couldn't find answers to. And that journey is digital. And I think what you're finding is if you can make that digital experience very relevant and authentic, and the authentic comes in where I want to be able to make sure that when Kim comes in, and let's pretend that her, she's in the sales department, the content is more geared towards the question that she would ask versus Carlos being, maybe he's the CTO and he wants to know things around security and encryption. You don't want to cloud those two things up. So providing that digital journey, but beginning to make that journey personalized as they engage is critical. I use this example in my book I wrote, The Convenience Economy, and if you think of a couple going in to buy a car, and they see someone first, and they say, oh, he or she must be interested in speed. I'm going to talk about miles per hour and how fast a turn they can go to in 0 to 60. They didn't know that couple is having a baby, and what they really were interested in is safety, and they were really interested in car seats and airbags. That personalization is very, very important, right? Because you only get, as Gartner says, 17% of a buyer's time. If you're looking at 3 vendors, you get 6% of their time. You better make it impactful. You better use that digital experience to augment your selling apparatus and your selling motion to get information to them that's relevant to them. So you hit the nail on the head. We're just all very much attuned with the fact that we'll go to Google and we'll search and search and search until we'll find the information we want. We'll consume it, whether it's video or text. And they expect that on your website. They're coming to you. They want to be able to search and find the information, the answers to their questions. And that's the world we live in.
Great. We're coming up on time. You spoke of car seats. We could have a whole show about how car seats had something to do with how we
giving the high five.
Car seats has something to do with how we shaped DojoLIVE based on one of the members of the team authentically talking about the importance of it, because that was how we were trying to connect to being authentic. But that's a whole other conversation.
Okay.
We're up on time. Quick question. You guys have built 3 companies, if I heard correctly, when you started together. Congratulations. Tell us what the journey for you, we've been talking about the customer journey. Tell us about the entrepreneurial journey a little bit. What have been some of the lessons you've learned about yourselves in this process?
Doug, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's like, thanks, leave the hard question for me.
And philosophically, I mean, I'll tell you the one thing that becomes important to me is thinking about the customer success and how the customer success drives my success and our success. And if the customers don't get success from what you're doing, they're not going to be a customer forever. And ultimately, we're trying to build long-term relationships. So I look at it as one of the things I'm trying to take away is I like to measure my success by my customer success. And ultimately, that's the key thing to understand. It's not about customer satisfaction. I'm not as focused on do they like me or not. What I'm focused on is, are they actually getting value out of what I'm doing to help their business? And if they're getting value from it, then they're able to get that success. And that's really what I try to drive towards.
And then, for me, I'll take it a little bit different from the entrepreneur second. I build companies, and what I try to do is I think that, he or she who has the best team wins. And I've found that I need to surround myself with people that are not like me, right? And it would be weird if Doug can look at an email and I can look at an email. He'll find 14 errors. I won't find any, right? It's just the way he studies things, the way he sees things are much different than me. And so I think how we've been successful and why we're successful is I'm willing to bring on people that will argue and debate, and we as a team will get to the right answer, because we're not all going to go, yeah, that's exactly what we should go do. And it's different personalities and different skill sets that you bring together. It's hard, right? At times you want to pull each other's, but at the same time, it's what helps your company grow when you're willing to, to kind of look at your weaknesses and let someone that's stronger than you in a certain area take over, right? And that's how you build a good team and a good company.
You can't be afraid.
Like hell. It's never easy.
You can't be afraid to argue to get to the truth, and that's what ultimately wins. It's been a pleasure to have you both on the show today. We've learned a lot. We wish you a lot of success. We will definitely keep up and learn more about maybe have you back in the future, talk about some more use cases, and just stay with us as we go off the air. Carlos, we got one more show tomorrow, right? What do we got coming up?
Sure, Tulio. Tomorrow we're going to be speaking with Milana Valmont and Mateusz Grzelak. I hope I got pronounced it correctly. From the CEO and CTO, respectively, of Kira. And we're going to be speaking about stocking on leverage with Kira. In other words, we're going to be elaborating on powering decentralized applications with the liquidity of assets at stake. So that's tomorrow right here on DojoLIVE at 1 p.m. Pacific.
Thanks for joining. Until then, stay safe.
Stay safe.